Hello, we're back and we may recap the last basho. No, we will. We're recapping the May basho. Stop throw!
Roll the salt, get in the ring. Welcome to the Dohyo.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dohyo here on Mr. JWags' channel. That was a heck of a May basho. Let's talk about it. But first, as per usual, we gotta drop it.
JWags was wrong.
I was wrong about this one. I've been wrong about the last few. I think there's some underlying assumptions I need to sort of work on and change before the next basho, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, of course, the lead story is Komusubi Onosato, in his Sanyaku debut and only 7th tournament in Pro Sumo, wins his first Makuuchi championship. 7 tournaments. This is the fastest anyone has ever won a Yusho. Quick sidebar. And just as a point of clarification, this is a different record than the one Terunofuji beat last tournament. Terunofuji started sumo from the Maizumo seeding tournament and had to work his way all the way up from the bottom. Onosato started as a Makushita Tsukedashi, which means he got to start mid-Makushita. Alright, quick sidebar. Onosato is looking great. He had 12 wins, a perfectly respectable amount for a first Yusho. He ended up getting his second Gino Show Technique Prize and his first Shukun Show Outstanding Performance Prize. Now, only in his 3rd tournament in Makuuchi, he has won at least one of every special prize. And the best part is he is still in his pre-peak years, turning 24 before the next basho. Now, the question I see all over online is Onosato on an Ozeki run? Well, I think he could be either 1 basho or 2 basho into the Ozeki run, depending on how we call it. If we remember back to my what does it take to make an Ozeki, really, we will see that Maegashira 4 is the modern sumo limit for low rank to start an Ozeki run, but records are made to be broken. We'll see if they are willing to start one at Maegashira 5 should he have an exceptional next tournament. It would only take 10 wins for him to get up to 33 wins over the last 3. I don't think that'll be enough. But I think 12 wins plus another strong Yusho push, if not a Yusho, I think that would get him to Ozeki after Nagoya. Now, clearly, Onosato is far more ready for primetime than I thought before the tournament. I thought he was going to have sort of an Tomofuji-esque arc where he was going to hit the joy pretty hard, maybe get like 6, 7, 8 wins and then bounce back down for a bit. No, he is already ready, and you can tell. This is only his 3rd tournament in Makuuchi, and yet this one, his 3rd one, at his highest rank ever, is the one he has had the best record. Now, some of the naysayers might say, yes, but he is starting at Maegashira 5. The Banzake at the top was very thin, as we had 5 Sanyaku members go Kyujo. And we all hope there will be no more bullying scandals coming out of Onosato's camp. We really hope. But ultimately, it is up to the JSA, and we do have 2 healthy young Ozeki who are not in Kataban next tournament. But we do have a couple. We'll get to that in a second. At 11-4, we had 2 wrestlers win the June Yusho, Ozeki Koto Zakada and Maegashira 1 Daisho. Koto Zakada just seems to keep on chugging no matter what the Shikona is. He has gotten 10 plus wins in the Sanyaku in 5 of his last 6 tournaments. He's gotten June Yusho in 3 of the last 4 tournaments. I think the question is just when, not if, he will win his first tournament. And I see him winning his first tournament by the end of this year. We've already seen him get up to 13 wins recently, and I think before the end of the year, we're going to see him get up there again. And this time, Terunofuji won't be there to beat him in a playoff. And one of the few predictions I got right, Daisho had a great tournament at Maegashira 1, hopefully erasing all the doubts we had from the last tournament, sort of dip down out of the Sanyaku, but he will be back at Komusubi next tournament. As I mentioned, a lot of Kyujo in this tournament and a lot of Kyujo at the very top. And speaking of the very top and Kyujo, Terunofuji, again, went Kyujo. Now, I know I've made this point several times before. I've never seen an Ozeki involuntarily sort of retired within a year of them winning a Yusho. But this could be the case that sort of pushes that boundary. I would guess if Terunofuji does not perform at Nagoya, then we would start hearing some rumblings about possibly removing him from the rope. Now, along with Koto Zakada, we have Hoshodyu as a young, hot Ozeki in good standing for the next tournament. Now, Hoshodyu had another good tournament, but not great. He keeps losing these random matches in the first week to Maegashira, and I think that is the thing that's keeping him from the next step to his greatness. The thing I would love to see out of Hoshoryu most in Nagoya is to win his first 5 matches. If he can do that, I think there's an excellent chance for him to repeat as Nagoya champion. And please don't think I'm like crapping on Hoshoryu. He's done an amazing job. He's been an excellent Ozeki, and he's gotten double-digit wins in his last 4 tournaments. Yes, never take your solid Ozeki for granted, as some of us did with Goeido and Takayasu back in the day. Because now we get to talk about Taka Keisho and Kirishima. So I guess starting with the slightly better situation, Taka Keisho went Kyujo and is now Kataban for the 9th time in his career. That's a lot. Not only that, this is his 4th Kataban since January 2023, so they seem to be accelerating as he gets older, even though he's only 27. As I've said before, neck injuries you don't want to mess with, and 2, it's not the years, it's the miles a lot of the time, and yeah, I'm afraid we have seen the best of Taka Keisho from here on out. Hopefully, we're going to see 8 wins in Nagoya, but I'm getting less optimistic with every tournament he is not fully back to health. And that goes double for former Ozeki and now sort of Ozeki Wake Kirishima. We hit that ceiling fast. So apparently Kirishima, who I thought was going to be in the Yusho race, has still not recovered from his neck injury. And neck injuries, you just don't want to mess with those. Now he's only 28, but if he does not get 10 wins in Nagoya, he is going to drop all the way out of the Ozeki conversation and have to do it again the hard way. And that is hard to do in the best of times, and he managed to do it in a year where we had very low Yokozuna attendance and no real Ozeki at the time other than a largely Kataban Taka Keisho. Onosato's already here, Terunofuji is just behind. I just think the road would be harder for Kirishima coming back older off of an injury through a tougher Banzuke to make Ozeki the hard way. So much of Kirishima's future career depends on his ability to get 10 wins in Nagoya. Heading through the rest of the Sanyaku, Seki Wake Abi gets his best record in the Sanyaku ever with 10 wins. 2 of them were Fusen wins, but hey, I mean, that's still 8 wins in the ring, which for Abi is not always locked in the Sanyaku. Good for you, Abi. I know he's a little bit divisive, but I think having a little bit of little brother energy in the Sanyaku is kind of fun. So yeah, he will be at Sekiwake next tournament as well. Abi is technically on an Ozeki run right now, but I think he'd have to get something like 14 wins next tournament, which he has never done, and definitely not in the Sanyaku. So I think Abi can just be happy he's going to be Sekiwake next tournament. So yeah, once again, next tournament we're going to have 3 Sekiwake. Abi, Ozeki Wake Kirishima, and they're going to have to force an extra spot for Onosato. Unfortunately, Wakamoto Haru only got 4 wins at Sekiwake, so he's going to be demoted back to the Maegashira ranks. He went Kyujo and did come back, but after he came back, he only got 1 win out of 5. Hopefully he will bounce back fast from this injury, and he will be back in the Sanyaku very soon. This, of course, means we are going to need 2 completely new Komusubi because, of course, Onosato won the Yusho and will be going up to Sekiwake, and the other Komusubi has been Kyujo the whole tournament, Asanoyama. I didn't want to be right about Asanoyama, but I just think his body's past the point where he can make anything resembling an Ozeki run. He hasn't been able to stay healthy for more than 1 tournament at a time. I sort of have Asanoyama in sort of that Takayasu area of like a former Ozeki who on the right day can totally bring it, but that body is not likely to be tip-top for 15 straight days. Sorry. Our new Komusubi are most likely going to be Maegashira 1 Daisho, as mentioned, and Maegashira 2 Hirado Umi, who got a 9 and 6 at a career high rank. So this brings us to Uncle Sumo's Attaboys. Yes, Uncle Sumo's Attaboys, a recurring segment where we give a little bit of extra praise to those wrestlers who maybe didn't get all of the press. And as we just said, Hirado Umi got a 9 and 6 at Maegashira 2, his career high rank. I have been worried about Hirado Umi. I look at that body and I'm just like, that is not a body that tends to win a lot at the higher ranks. But he just seems to be doing it. I mean, face it, Hirado Umi just turned 24. He's had an amazing career to this point. If he wasn't as small as he is, I think we would all be freaking out about him the same way we've been freaking about him like Atami Fuji and Hakuoho. And he beat 4 Sanyaku members in this tournament, including champion Onosato. Hirado Umi, attaboy. Next attaboy goes to Maegashira 5 Meisei. He got a 10-5. He has not been doing too great in the last few tournaments. It is great to see him get solid double-digit wins. Now, he didn't beat any Sanyaku in this tournament, but he did manage to get a few impressive Maegashira victories, including wins over Shonan no Umi, Hirado Umi, and Daisho. Speaking of which, Maegashira 10, Shonan no Umi, attaboy. I expected him to do well down at Maegashira 10, and he did. He was on the leaderboard up until the last 5 days, then he got aggressively promoted and did not do well. I think his true talent level is higher than Maegashira 10. I don't think he is quite a Joy Sanyaku level wrestler, but I think his true talent level is somewhere around Maegashira 6, Maegashira 5, which is where I think he will be ranked next tournament. Maegashira 14 and Makuuchi debutant Oshoma had an amazing debut. I did not expect him to do this well. Oshoma, of course, sort of famous for holding almost the exact same rank in Juryo for an insane period of time, has managed to find another level to his sumo, has done very well in the past few tournaments. Let's see what his true ceiling can be. He was on the leaderboard down the stretch. He won his first Kanto show in his Makuuchi debut. An amazing debut. Attaboy. Now we come to the recurring segment, Worried, where we look at several wrestlers who maybe didn't have a great basho, and I tell you if I am worried or not about their future prospects. As I have already said, I am worried about Ozeki Kirishima. He should not be doing this badly as young and as healthy as he has been up until this point. I've been following Kirishima back since he was Kidabayama all these years, and I have never seen him have any sort of troubles that have lasted more than one tournament, injury-wise, so this is a little bit scary. As I've already mentioned, it's going to be real hard for him to make Ozeki again the hard way if he doesn't get 10 in the next tournament. Maegashira's 7, Nishikigi and Matakayumi. I am worried about both of them. Now, in the past 6 tournaments, Nishikigi has been Sanyaku. He's been up there. His true talent level has looked to be high Maegashira, not quite upper Joy level, but he's down at Maegashira 7 and only got 5 wins. That is worrying to me. He did not look hurt. He just looked overmatched in a lot of these matches. So, here's hoping that Nishikigi can come back next tournament, but from what I've seen this one, I'm a little worried. Now, I wasn't worried about Matakayumi, and Matakayumi actually got his Kachikoshi, so it's a little weird to say that I'm worried about him, but he got hurt day 8 versus Shonan no Umi. He was visibly limping for the rest of the tournament. So yes, even though he finished with a winning record, I'm worried about what that ankle, knee, whatever was wrong down there. I'm worried that it will not be ready for the next tournament. We'll see. I am not worried about Maegashira 1 Atamifuji. Alright, he's been up in the Joy for 3 straight tournaments. He's gotten 6 wins, 8 wins, and 7 wins. He hasn't seemed to found that new level of sumo to pump him up into the Sanyaku, but I am not worried. He's just turned 21. He has so much time to figure things out. And he's already in the top 15, sort of entrenched and holding his own in the top 15 wrestlers in sumo. He's got time. I think he'll be fine. Even if he takes the rest of the year to figure it out, and it's a slow learning curve, then great. He starts making Ozeki runs at 23, which is a year younger than Onosato. And to Maegashira 3, Takayasu. I'm not worried about him. It's one of these things where it's yes, he's injured all the time, but when he comes back, he seems to just look great. He finished 4-0 against the Sanyaku he faced in this tournament. He just came in and was just yeah, I'm just here to ruin everyone's dreams, and then I'm going to take some time off. Even though he had 5 Kyujo absence losses, he still almost came back and got his Kachikoshi. So it is very clear that when Takayasu wrestles, he seems to have his A game. It's just, I wish he could wrestle more and maybe get that Yusho, but that hope fades with every passing basho. Now let's see who's taking that midnight train to Judio. Now, this is an interesting promotion-demotion picture, because back in the final quick strike, I was maybe there'll only be 3, but then everything shook out for maximum chaos, so there are going to be at least 5 promotion demotions, maybe 6. Now, in my mind, the definite demotions are Maegashira 17 Tsurugisho, right there at the bottom of the Banzuke, still looking hurt after last tournament, only had 3 wins. Maegashira 16 Tomikaze, only 2 wins. He's definitely going down. Maegashira 13 Mitoryu, only 2 wins, and a Kyujo, that's going down. Oh, heartbreakingly, Maegashira 6 East Terunofuji, 0 wins because he was Kyujo the entire tournament because he hadn't fully recovered from the injury he had in the last tournament. So sad. He's going to be dropping back down to Judio. And then Maegashira 15 Toki Hayate only got 6 wins, and by my math, that puts him down in Judio. There is a case to be made for Maegashira 12 Nishiki Fuji, but my math has him right down at the Maegashira 17 line. Now our 5, perhaps 6, promotees start with Judyo 6 Wakataka Kage, who as predicted won the Judyo Yusho with a stunning 14-1 record. Also having promotable records, Judyo's 3, Endo and Chiyoshima, former Makauji regulars who got 12 wins, they are definitely coming up. Judyo 2 East, Bushozan with 9 wins, that's a promotable record. Judyo 5 East, Kageyaki with 11 wins, that should bring him up as well. Now the question is, will the young hotness down at Judyo 12, Onokatsu, qualify with 13 wins? I have him up around Judyo 1 right now, so I don't think we're going to see that Nishiki Fuji Onokatsu switch, but we might, but I think it's going to be 5-5 this time. So I think the central tension of the entire series of the Dohyo comes from the fact that my other job is that I am in the entertainment business and that I have a mind for sort of dramatic through lines. And while sumo is dramatic and fascinating, what actually happens in sumo doesn't fit into like a pre-planned dramatic arc. And sometimes those things meet up, like when Terunofuji and Hakuho met on day 15 for like the usual. That's when it happens. But most of the time, there's a lot of random, interesting stuff that doesn't necessarily fit into a dramatic through line. It's like I've said many times before. Like if I were a showrunner, I would have had notes about this year. We had done so much setup work last year creating this idea of 4 young Ozeki, and now it just seems like all of these 4 young Ozeki aren't really living up to their end of the bargain. My personal problem seems to be I keep giving people like an extra year of the benefit of the doubt. I thought that last year Terunofuji was going to get to 10 Yusho. Did not happen. I thought this year was going to be sort of like the last charge of this group of wrestlers who are like in their peak, like the Daishos, the Kirishimas, and to a lesser extent the Kotozakuras. That also hasn't really happened. The fact that is a synecdoche for this whole amount of chaos is that at the end of the Nagoya tournament, we could have anywhere from 2 to 6 Ozeki, assuming like Abi and Onosato have a 14-1 playoff at the end. And so I think back to several predictions I have made from a place of honesty and a place of where I think sumo is actually going, and it is so disappointing because I really wanted to be wrong about a lot of these things. When Kirishima was promoted to Ozeki, I said at the time I think he was going to be the first Mongolian to not make Yokozuna after making Ozeki, and that right now is looking to be pretty apt. I said in the wrap-up for 2023 that I think we may have seen the best of Takakeisho, and everything we've seen this year is showing that to be pretty apt. Like, dramatically, I hate wasting the peaks of these very interesting Ozeki and Yokozuna characters. But the young hotness appears to be here, and they don't want to wait. Dramatic structure be damned. Even though we do have 2 healthy young Ozeki, this Bansuke was incredibly weak at the top for this basho, and neither of them could win. And again, after last year, we had all 6 champions were either Ozeki, Yokozuna, or on the way to becoming an Ozeki by the end of the year. And this year, it just seems like we had that Terunofuji random comeback, and since then, Takerufuji, Onosato? Now, those of you who are fans of the sports leagues in America, you may have noticed that back in like the 60s and 70s and 80s, we had a lot of what we call dynasties. There's a whole bunch of like repeat champions or champions in like in a close group. And we also saw that in sumo. But what we have seen in the American sports recently, particularly sports like baseball, where we haven't had a champion win twice in 10 years. Or in basketball right now, where with the recent elimination of the Denver Nuggets, we are going to have a 7th consecutive year of having a new champion. We've seen dynasties all throughout sport, like the Boston Celtics of the 60s all the way through, like the Spurs of the 2000s, and now going into a bit, I guess, the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL. And I guess we don't call them dynasties in single-person individual sports. We call them alpha dogs. So, do we think something in sport right now in the world is just pushing against the idea of dynasties or alpha dogs? And is sumo just catching up to that? Or are we just sort of in an interregnum and we are just waiting for the next alpha dog to reveal himself? And if that's the case, we may have had a strong hint on who the next alpha dog is. Thank you for joining us here on the Dohyo on Mr. JWags channel. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. That just tells the YouTube algorithm that everyone wants to watch the Dohyo, and we all do, don't we? Please stick around. We have a bunch of episodes coming up before the next basho that you're not going to want to miss. Our next Ozeki rankings, our next Yokozuna rankings, and the charts of my tiers. And you're not going to want to miss any of those. So everyone, stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time on the Dohyo.